All right, it looks like we are leveling out here. Great afternoon. I hope everyone is enjoying the day. My name is Don Baker, and I have the pleasure of introducing our moderator for this afternoon's panel discussion. He is a wonderful ally and a great friend to both Fame and Desca, Mr. Chris Siemer, a newly, or should I say a newer retiree, has a wonderful wealth of experience and background. By trade, he is a chemical engineer and has worked for companies like DuPont, like Chemours. I believe he's also worked for Stouffer Chemical and Unikema. And he has been a globetrotter and a game changer for many of these organizations. Chris has a knack, a very special knack for turning around institutions and making them more efficient and effective. So without any further delay, it is my pleasure to introduce our friend and our moderator for this panel discussion, Mr. Chris Siemer. Chris.
Thank you, Don, very much for your kind words, and welcome everybody. As Don said, I'm a chemical engineer and I've enjoyed a career of more than 40 years in the global chemical industry. And during that time, I've seen a huge change in mindsets. Industry leaders have moved from having diverse teams as a nice to have to a very clear understanding now that diversity and diverse teams lead to more successful businesses. Diverse teams are better at adapting to change and recognizing change, and fundamentally, companies that are made up of diverse teams are more successful and make more money. However, during my career, we've seen only a small increase in the number of candidates from underrepresented groups with the right STEM education coming forward to be able to take on an increased number of technical roles as technology becomes a bigger and bigger component of all jobs in all industries. So our purpose today is to catalyze change. To do that by informing you of the good work that's going on so that you can connect to it, and to enlist you in this cause to expand and accelerate the efforts that you're going to hear about. Our panel of experts represents local education, industry, and the platforms that are being used to connect them. And to start today, I'll cover a couple of topics with the panel, and then we'll take questions from you. Please submit your questions using the Q&A portal that you'll see on your screen. And thank you. And with that, we'll begin. So good afternoon, panel. And as each of you start, could you please give your name and your title, and then describe what you're working on to improve the pipeline of talent coming from diverse and underrepresented groups into STEM and technically oriented roles in industry. I'd like to start with Lisa, please.
So good afternoon. Thank you, Chris. My name is Lisa Stoner-Torbert, and it is my honor to serve our state as the policy advisor for career and technical education at the Delaware Department of Education. And before I start, I just want to give a huge thank you and shout out to Desca and Fame for this amazing day of learning and network. And wow, just what a day it's been, especially for our students. And as Dr. Dembeck noted this morning, our future innovators. And for that, I'm just extremely grateful. I'm also super excited to have the opportunity to discuss the critical connection that we must make between education and our industry partners. I truly believe this is the path we must take to prepare a diverse and inclusive workforce that not only has the knowledge and technical skills, but also the social and emotional skills to meet the needs of the members on this panel and our business partners throughout Delaware, as well as our students, our families, and our communities. Earlier today, former Governor Markell shared the importance of adapting learning to meet the needs of our workforce through a fireside chat he had with our friend Don Baker. And in addition to forming the amazing STEM Council, which continues to bring learning to life for our students today, Governor Markell also brought together representatives from the private and the public sectors to form Delaware Pathways during his time as governor. So the work of this collaborative continues under Governor Carney's leadership and is really focused on establishing career pathways that span secondary, post-secondary education and make that very direct connection to the workforce by bringing business, education, community together to build a service model that connects middle school, high school, continuing education to career, and expanding access to high quality career pathways and wraparound services for every Delaware student. At the same time, we aim to increase the number of students and adults that are prepared to continue their education and to enter the workforce with a certificate, a license, or a credential of value. So as a result, industry leaders, community leaders, educators have since implemented high school career pathways that integrate academic and hands-on technical content and now enroll over 23,000 high school students in 40 of our Delaware high schools. These career pathways were developed with business partners to align to the needs of the regional and the state economies in areas like healthcare and information technology, hospitality, manufacturing, agri-science, business and marketing, education, computer science, engineering, just to name a few. Notably, the career pathways enable students to earn industry-recognized credentials, certificates, and licenses, as well as early college credit and advanced standing, again, while they are in high school. So students in Delaware pathways also get to participate in early career experiences through a continuum of work-based learning that is supported by the Office of Work-Based Learning out of Delaware Technical Community College. And you'll hear from more about that work from my colleague Bryan Horsey in a few minutes. In addition, students in these career pathways are also provided supports and those wraparound services both in school and out of school through partnering state agencies and community-based organizations. So although we now enroll over half of our high school students in these high quality, rigorous pathways, we know there is still a lot of work to be done. We recognize that there must be multiple points of access for every student, that not every student enters on an equal playing field, that we need to focus on student readiness and transition, and that we need to focus on student identity and connecting the dots between their in-school and their out-of-school learning and work, all while building, if you will, that sense and spirit of community. So the only way to truly make that happen is through employers, our families and students, our communities, and our educators working together. So we appreciate the opportunity to be a part of this discussion and the opportunity to continue to build and strengthen these partnerships for our students and for our future workforce.
Lisa, thank you very much. With the same question, over to Bryan Horsey.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Again, my name is Bryan, and thank you, Don and Chris, for having this today. Very excited. I'm the director of the Delaware Office of Work-Based Learning, and sort of building and following on what Lisa's work at DOL entails. Leaders in this state, recognize the economic strength is directly linked to the vibrancy and skill of our local workforce. I think that's something we all sort of know and understand today. Work-based learning is a collaborative initiative to create advanced student-to-employer connections with the goal of building a high-skilled talent pipeline for employers, right? So this is, essentially what we're talking about here is the student-to-employer connection, between education and creating a successful talent pool. And to be successful, our work requires the coordinated effort of public schools, higher education, nonprofits, and employers. And again, great representation here today and hopefully in the audience. So that's where the Delaware Office of Work-Based Learning comes in. As a Deltech initiative, statewide facilitator for work-based learning, we connect all of these entities so that together we can give students high quality developmental experiences that inspire and prepare them to drive Delaware's economic future. So we very strongly believe in the direct link to the work that is happening in pathways and in high school and in post-secondary education, tied to the talent pipeline that companies are asking for. Our office recruits employers to prepare students for these workplaces by a variety of range of activities, from awareness, exploratory and immersion experiences, what they call them. An example of an immersion experience is something akin to an internship, an apprenticeship. So, really getting the students some hands-on experience within an employer. And of course, that benefits the employer as well. We also partner with community-based organizations that are teaching the critical soft skills that the students need. And again, the goal is to ensure that they, upon graduation, are ready to engage employers in a professional work setting. We align these community offerings to secondary and post-secondary standards, as Lisa mentioned. We provide them directly to the schools across the state to meet these requirements. So, in a sense, we're a statewide facilitator between the schools, secondary and post-secondary, and the state's employers. And this is across, all different fields, right? You name it, IT, agriculture, hospitality, business, across all the different pathways and even beyond. So again, we're very excited to be here today, and hopefully we can make some great connections.
All right, thank you very much. Next, I'd like to invite Casey Welch to respond to the question. And Casey, maybe just take a minute to describe the space that you work in, because the concept of connection platforms may be new to some of our audience members.
Yeah, happy to do so, Chris. So for everyone, it's an honor to be here. Deska and Fame, thanks for inviting me. Chris, thanks for allowing me on the panel today to share. My name is Casey Welch. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Tallo. When you think about connection platforms, a lot of us has talked about awareness and connection. And this has been one of the areas that we have really focused on. When we started, we were a company with co-founders that came up 30 years in business, 30 years in education, from superintendents, and then IT. And we brought everything together into one way under the impetus that everybody has a skill or an ability, but often what happens is there's geographic or socioeconomic barriers that stand in the way. In short, I think, the example, and you'll see the football stuff behind, is that, if there's a 7-foot student in 8th grade that can dunk a basketball, everybody knows where they are. And we said, what about the welder, the technician, the engineer, et cetera? I happen to be a kicker in college. Some count that as football, some don't. But it led to a lot of opportunity for me. Unfortunately, I had a lot of friends that had skills and abilities. They were in the classroom, they were in the shops, they were in the tech, and nobody ever got to see them. They had that skills and they were getting educated, but no companies ever saw them. They never got connected. They're still in that town doing something that they don't love to do, and they're never going to get out because nobody ever, made that spark that changed their life. Like when somebody sent me a letter that said, hey, you can play, college football. So in doing that, what we brought together is we said, how do we create a way that we can level the playing field? We're doing so much work in our education system. Lisa just talked about it. Bryan just hit on it with the tech system. So much great work about getting our students educated, getting them excited, getting them credentials, helping them with the skills. But that is all extremely important. But if nobody knows where they are, or nobody knows that they have that skill or ability outside of their parent, maybe their teacher, their mentor, that's a gap. That's a challenge. I think we all know that many of jobs, when we look at inequity, come from a network, a connection. You knew somebody, you did that. And we wanted to bring that together to students going forward. And so, often students don't know what they don't know. And, employers don't know who they should find. They know what they need. And so we wanted to provide that easy ability to be able to connect them. We've scaled that. We now connect over 1.5 million students across the country that have proactively come on to Tallo to help showcase the great work they're doing inside and outside the classroom, to be able to find those opportunities and be able to bring to it. and a very diverse group with over 500, over 500,000 of them being ethnic or racial minorities. So being able to do that and be able to connect them. A couple of examples though, and it was hit on by, I think Lisa and Bryan both did though, is what we learned from that is when you go into a region or a state, it's important to know that it's an ecosystem approach, that you have to work complementary to what's there. And how do you support? How do IT systems work with those to continue to cultivate the whole way through that pipeline, from those students that start in middle school to high school, and then they diverge on multiple paths. Some go to 4-year college, that's great. Some go to 2-year, that's great. Some go right into the workforce, which is great. Some might go military. So how do we help support them to find the best journey for them and connect them through? We've taken this model at a state and regional level. In South Carolina, we have worked with the Department of Commerce, Education, the 2-year technical college two-year technical college system, as well as the industry and manufacturing and other employers to bring together and go, how do we help showcase talent in our state? How do we help use it as an economic development tool to bring in more talent, to show that we do have a lot of great talent here? Often people don't know it, and connect them throughout their journey, help to provide real-time insights, understand the changes that's happening in these different environments. We're now doing the same work over the last year or so with FAME and helping to in Delaware, and brought on over nearly 4,000 students in Delaware, starting to showcase and connect them and have unique opportunities, such as the Delaware College and Career Exploration Day we did a few months ago, where we're bringing employers and we're bringing the post-secondary education, higher ed parts to be able to connect with the students. So we get them excited, we get them interested, we get them educated, and we wanted to help support that last mile, which is connecting them all together. So appreciate the opportunity to share with you, to continue to work. And I think, Delaware's got a really unique system and great partners at the table to really make a difference and proactively change the way that the future talent pipeline is cultivated. Thank you.
Casey, thanks so much. Now we're going to pivot and hear from some folks in industry, moving from very large, complex industry partners to smaller and more focused. So we're going to start with Kimberly from Chemours, which is my old company, which is a very large multinational chemical company that spun out of DuPont in 2015, with its own set of opportunities and challenges on making sure it brings in very diverse teams for its talent pipeline. So Kimberly, please.
Thank you, Chris. So on behalf of the Chemours Company, I'd like to thank DESCA and FAME for this opportunity, not only to sit on this panel, but to participate in today's conference. I had the opportunity to sit through the fireside chat with former Governor Markell, as well as the keynote address, and I took away some life lessons, and I don't even have a technical background. So this has been really great, and I'm sure that those who are in the other tracks, both university and middle school students, also have learned a lot. My name is Kimberly Reid, as Chris said, and I work at the Chemours Company. And I think it's very fitting, actually, that I followed Casey, because I actually have firsthand knowledge of Tallo through one of the scholarship programs that I'm going to be talking about today. So I can attest to the connections and to the fact that already industry is meeting with education from a business perspective. So the Chemours Company made a public pledge in 2018. We decided that we were going to make a very strong commitment that from 2018 to 2030, we were going to really do something as far as corporate responsibility and commitments were concerned. And so one of the 10 goals that we established actually is around vibrant communities. And so that goal is that we decided to invest $50 million in communities because we want to increase access and opportunity for those students in underrepresented areas and groups to be able to improve their STEM skills, to have the benefit of being able to participate in safety initiative programs, as well as sustainable environment programs. So that's something that, we really have taken to heart at Chemours. And if you go to our website and read through our 2019 CRC report, you'll be able to see the strides that we're making in those areas. But specifically in regards to Chris's question, what comes to mind are two scholarship programs. And one of them actually was birthed here in Wilmington, Delaware. And that's the Future of Chemistry Scholarship Program. In 2018, very popular year, we partnered with the City of Wilmington, Mayor Mike Przicki, and the HBCU Week Foundation to develop this scholarship program that's based on helping high school students be able to pursue a STEM degree at a historically Black college or university. I'm very proud to say that from 2018 to just last year with the 2020 class, there have been 8 students, high school seniors from the greater Wilmington high schools that have benefited from a 4-year, $40,000 scholarship to be able to attend a historically Black college or university and study a STEM degree and hopefully go on to become a future Chemourite or one of our other more, businesses, chemical industry businesses in Delaware. So that's something we're really proud of, but we knew we could do more. So what we decided through the very strong backing of our CEO, Mark Bergnano, is that we wanted to instill this commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion in STEM, and also to be able to inspire even more STEM leaders to increase a diverse workforce. So we partnered with the American Institute of Chemical Engineers, the American Chemistry Council, and again, the HBCU Week Foundation, who's a great partner of ours. And we developed the Future of STEM Scholars Initiative. So hopefully from those two programs, you'll be able to see that futuristic and forward thinking is something that Chemours is very good at. And so through this program, also a 4-year, $40,000 scholarship for students who wish to pursue a STEM degree at an HBCU, there's a little bit more that we decided to add on to this, because as you've heard so far from my colleagues, and you will hear from those after me, being able to create a more diverse future workforce is very important now more than ever with all that's going on in the world. Social unrest, social injustice, global pandemics that are impacting our normal way of life. We need to really be able to impact what our future workforce looks like and how they are equipped to be able to deal in that future workforce. So the Future of STEM Scholars Initiative actually provides scholarship opportunities, but also internship placements, leadership development, and mentoring. So we have a very ambitious goal for this first year, and that's to award these scholarships to 150 students. And so stay tuned, because next month we will be making that announcement, and I'm very excited about it. So Chris, that's what Chemours has been doing. Chemours has so much more that it's doing, and I'm sure we'll get to that in later questions. But we really have decided that we're going to take charge and we're going to take the lead in being able to really put not just Delaware, but every STEM area and every student on the map. So thank you.
Kimberly, thanks so much. And now to one of our very important regional companies. TJ, please tell us what's going on at Delmarva.
Good afternoon, Chris. Thank you for having me, and thank you for Deska for allowing me to be a part of this very distinguished panel. Feels really good to be on the panel with a lot of companies that I've actually have partnered with recently. Been able to work with Tallo recently. I'm a huge partner with Fame. So it feels really good to be amongst other industry and educators who also have common beliefs and core values that you share. Hello, everyone. My name is TJ Thornton. I am the Senior Workforce Development Manager for Delmarva Power. I'm in charge of Delmarva's DE&I efforts and workforce development in Delaware and also in Southern New Jersey. Currently, Delmarva has the beliefs that investing in a company's diversity, their equity in their communities and their inclusion is the wave of the future. It's the way to build a strong workforce. It's the way to power your company going forward. And most importantly, it is the driving force behind innovation, whether it's new ways to do our field work more efficiently, or whether it's new thought process behind some of our energy efficiency filings that we have going on. Diversity of thought is the key to the future in making sure that we are A, good community partners, and B, just good environmental partners, that we're doing our part to make sure that we're keeping this world as clean as possible for future generations. Our main initiative that we do have now going forward is our Path to Success program. It's a way that we've reached out to our underserved communities to provide a pipeline into the utility industry. It's a 2-year program that we have started. It's for high school juniors and seniors, and it's really a high school to work program that we have developed with the strong assistance from our FAME nonprofit partners. The goal behind the program is to increase awareness in our high schools as to careers in the utility field, and also offer a training program that gets high school seniors ready to enter the workforce. It's a 2-year program, consists of mentoring, an internship, and practical skills training. At the end of the 2-year program, our company has promised to hire these students and bring them on into the workforce, with the goal of increasing our diversity, from making sure that these programs are being targeted and marketed to our underserved communities. Currently, we have a cohort of 20 students that are involved in the program, and the program is slated to end in June of this year. So I'm looking forward to the bright futures of these 20 students that we are able to engage. And more importantly, I'm looking forward to the day where we expand our program to include not only students in Newcastle County, but also to make sure that we're servicing our underserved communities in Kent and in Sussex County as well. Going forward, what the future looks like for Delmarva Power in this DE&I space is that we're also looking to expand the program to include more STEM-related careers. That's when partnership is going to become very important. Our corporate partners to assist us with the STEM part of the program for our students that have a focus with our 2- and 4-year college path. So that is where we are with. You have to apologize for those who saw the young one run behind me. I have my children here today, so yes, I was trying to keep them upstairs where they're not listening. But that is where we are in the Delmarva Power space. Thank you, everyone.
Okay. Thank you very much, TJ. And as all of us are aware, in a COVID world, we've all gotten a lot more flexible about accepting that we have life along with work, and that's a very good thing. So congratulations on having your family around you. So next we'd like to hear from Bryan Tracy. And I'd like to just introduce Bryan a little bit, given my background in the chemical industry, so that everyone understands the Delaware Valley was the birthplace of the US chemical industry about 200 years ago. And that process is still continuing, with Bryan giving birth to new technologies and ultimately new jobs and opportunities for people in this area. So Bryan Tracy, as an entrepreneur and part of a smaller business than the first two we've talked about, what are you doing to improve your pipeline and help overall?
Thanks, Chris. And my wife just arrived, so I am not in kid duty at this precise moment. Folks can't see this maybe, but anyway, so first of all, thanks, Chris, for doing this, for moderating this panel. And congratulations, Don and Dora, to Fame and Deska for pulling this off. I think it's an incredible accomplishment to the community, and hopefully something that's going to persist year after year after year. So I'm going to speak with two hats effectively, because I've come at it from a personal level. And on a personal level, I serve Fame. I am fortunate enough to be on the board of Fame, and I also serve on the board of Deska. And lastly, I also serve my wife, who's a rock star teacher here in Delaware, who does a lot K through 12 to inspire a lot of diversity into unique career fields and so forth. So I am a central cheerleader of trying to enable and help others to actually create the programming and the curriculum and the connections that will hopefully assist companies at all scales and to help individuals at all levels of education and those returning back into education to have the courage and to have the resources and the support to endeavor into STEM education fields or STEM career disciplines. So enough of the personal level. I'm the CEO of a company called White Dog Labs, which actually today we just relaunched as Super Brewed Food. We are making things that go into things like the Beyond Burger or the Impossible Burger, the next generation of sustainable food ingredients to help feed you with better nutrition and to not rob your pocketbook at the same time. And we also create other really cool things through a fermentation approach, just to sorry, I'm being a little self-serving here, Chris, because we take lots of interns. So my connection details are now going into the chat box. We also do things like grow bacteria to make nanoparticle magnets. It's pretty cool. You can actually take a magnet up to our fermentation broth and everything will swarm to it. And it's stuff that's going into cancer therapies and so forth. So if that doesn't get you all thinking about the cool career opportunities in the STEM field, you're probably asleep right now. So White Dog Labs, Super Brewed Food, we're small. We're 45 people across the country. Our biggest presence is here in Delaware because, as Chris mentioned, this is the home of the chemical industry and we intend to keep it that way. Lots of great connections. I'll be frank, we haven't had to try all that hard to encourage diversity within inside of our company. It hasn't had to be a culture change. We're young and we looked at it differently. We are missing out on a huge amount of talent if we're not looking at all populations. Half of our company are people of color or women. In every organization that I'm affiliated with, I've done an excellent job of hiring others to take my place to do a better job, and they all tend to be women. Beyond that too, we take students at all different levels, from 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade. We take people from the technical colleges. Del Tech's one of our best feeders of students actually to intern with us. We have students intern at every single level of education to help them become more informed as to whether or not these types of STEM disciplines are the right type of fit for them. And we've been very fortunate in many cases for folks to come back. We've had stories of people coming out after their 2-year degree at Del Tech, then going off to University of Delaware and coming back and working with us full-time afterwards. Or those who aren't quite sure if that's the transition that they want to do. And we do this, in our case, because we utilize the resources of FAME and DESCA, and particularly FAME. FAME, I think, actually has created so much incredible programming to address all of our needs as, yes, a small employer, but we need to hire people at all types of education levels. We don't need just bachelors. We have plenty. We don't need just PhDs. We have those, masters, but we need folks from the technical disciplines. We need folks as well who just come out of high school and want to serve in a different type of discipline that, frankly, we need this exceptional type of talent. Hi, Penny. All right. So there goes my 6-year-old who is interning with us today. But we do this through connecting with FAME and connecting with Del Tech, connecting with University of Delaware. We've gone out of our way to find those types of resources, to hire and to intern students at every single solitary level we possibly can. Going forward for us as a company, as we grow, we intend to continue to do this. But I guess our mission as a company, particularly as a small company, is to really to serve as an example. And I'll talk about this in the next question, because frankly, it's a challenging proposition for early stage small companies to be able to be this connected. And so we want to make that example as to how it's not just good for the community, because it is, and we're proud of that, but it's good for our bottom line of our company as well. Access to this type of talent of people with different perspectives of how they approach problems, both culturally, both from their education perspective, even just how they're interacting in their household, has been a net tremendous benefit for us, because it allows us to look at unique problems through 5 different angles, and we ultimately come up with far better solutions than we would have with singular think. So that's us in a nutshell. I appreciate this opportunity. We look forward to speaking more.
Great, Bryan, thanks so much. Okay, panelists, next, I'd like to come back around to each of you with the following question, which is, what critical opportunities or needs do you see that must be addressed in order to ensure continued performance improvement in this area, for us to get better, for us to continue to improve this overall pipeline? So once again, starting with Lisa.
Great. So thanks, Chris, for a great question. And before I answer, I want to thank you for pulling this discussion together and really connecting the dots with all of us. And I just also want to thank the members of this panel. I've been just learned so much in this time together and taking notes about ways we can partner with school systems and continue, to partner with FAME and DESCA. And just, I'm so appreciative of the opportunities that you give our students through the mentoring and the internships that all of you mentioned. So thank you. thank you for the work that you're doing and for doing that for our students. I think for us, one of the kind of next steps is to continue this work. So as I mentioned, we've done this work over the past few years. It's been really focused on building a career preparation system that bridges that secondary, post-secondary education in the workforce. So in other words, we've been working together to answer the question, what does it mean to be career and post-secondary ready? So while this work remains critical, it's really vital that we start earlier. And I heard this through several of the comments earlier today too during the conference, that we build students' self-awareness, their social awareness, their self-management, self-determination, decision-making, relationship skills in the middle grades and before. So that every student has the confidence to be, I think as Dr. Dembeck also put it this morning, be brave, not perfect. And that every student exits 8th grade having had access to equity-centered, technical, academic, and social emotional programming that is supported by both, again, in-school and out-of-school learning. And that we make sure that these experiences inspire their path to post-secondary success. So as they transition into high school from middle school. In other words, we're answering the question, what does it mean to be high school ready? So to do this, we are bringing together students, families, community, employers, educators, again, to build a framework that will lead to the implementation of student supports, extended learning opportunities, and curriculum and assessment that all is guided through an equity lens. So these middle school experiences, we believe should be really reflective of student identity, should build that student intellect and skills, and also lead to criticality so that students understand things like power and privilege and oppression and equity and are really equipped to do something about it. And along with that, we want to make sure that learning is joyful and it's a joyful experience for every student. So again, our students, families, industry partners, community educators said it over and over again, but we're all so critical to this work. I will be reaching out to the panelists here to see if you're interested in getting involved, but also to those who are attending today. If you're interested in hearing more or getting involved in this kind of middle school rethink, please reach out. My contact information was in the chat, and I'd love to talk more to you about it. Thank you.
Lisa, thanks so much. And for our other panelists, please make sure that you have an ask for the audience here in terms of enlisting them in the work that you're doing, by all means. So next, Bryan Horsey, please.
So I have a big ask. So I'm going to back up a little bit and, again, building on what Lisa is mentioning. So, I don't think the Department of Education gets enough kudos for the work that has really gone into their initiative here for career readiness, right? So, this is years in the making, which is a huge collaborative effort by not only Department of Education, but Department of Labor, post-secondary institutions, community-based organizations, and business stakeholder groups in this state, which is a really unique event, right? All of these different powerful leadership organizations coming together, agreeing on the need, which is, highly skilled students graduating, being able to fill competitive jobs at our companies in the state. But not only that, to be able to execute and launch something like this, that really, they were able to do in a matter of a few years. And since then, it's been growing. And it's, in every school district and every high school across the state and every county. And that's very important to know for our employers, right? So the point that I'm getting at is that none of this works without employer engagement. And that is the most important thing we're talking about here. And that's why everyone else is doing what they're doing. It's for our employers in the state. And it's to meet their constant request of, look, we're trying to find talent. We're having trouble finding talent. We find talent, but they're not, as qualified as we'd like them to be. This is the answer to that, right? So this is a call to action to all of our employers in the state to pay attention and to get involved. And so that's my ask today. It's that they seek out and become more involved in my world, in work-based learning, right? Which is everyone else's world here on the call. It's work-based learning. It's employers working with our students across multiple different levels, both hard and soft skills, so that they are viable candidates for your company, for that company, and for others. And that's the goal, and that's what we're all here, I think, today trying to achieve. So, my ask today is for the employers that are watching, is to sort of take that next step and become a little bit more involved and to start working with some of us.
Thank you very much. Casey, you're in very complex, broad market space. What are the challenges you see, and what's the ask you have for our audience?
Yeah. We do get that unique opportunity to work with students from 13 to 60. We get to work with colleges, companies, governmental entities, organizations, and they're all a little different, but they all have the same interest at the end of the day, right? How do we get people in those right careers? So a couple things. I think one, to follow up with Bryan Horsey's comment there on the go ask about the companies, and about part of this solution be get to them earlier, right? Let them know what you need. Let them know how. I think a data point that I'd like to share with it is, and from so often, Chris, we work with companies, and a lot of this was pre-pandemic, where they always said, we don't want to reach out to the students unless we have an opportunity available right then and there. Because if not, why would they want to hear from us? Well, last year we surveyed over 200,000 Gen Z students across the country. And we did it in 2019, and we did it in 2020, right? And at that point, we asked the question, it is important to establish a connection with an employer, even though they don't have an immediate job opportunity. So we asked this in December of 2019, and 59% of the students said it was important for them to get reached out, even if they're not. We did the same thing in April 2020, and that number went up to 81%, right? And when you think about it, right, generational, Brian Tracy talked about almost different generations coming in and diversity in groups. Gen Z is very different than millennials. They want to make a commitment. They want to go to a company that aligns with who they believe in, their culture, their fit, that has the diverse attributes that they want. So if they're going to make that long-term commitment, right, they don't just want to get married on the first date, right? They want to understand them. They want to make sure they got the skills, they have the ability to be able to do it. So when companies sometimes we saw had fear, we have given that data point to help them understand, don't worry about it. Just let them reach out to them. When you have an opportunity like a great scholarship that, Kimberly talked about, or TJ talked about, in a program, that's awesome. Those are great. But there can be more reach outs. That's why the importance of going, when you do have that opportunity, it's there, but it can change the course. And so I think that's one of the biggest barriers, and agreement of everyone of saying, how do we get to them earlier? I think the second thing that I would ask is, and we saw this when we started to work in this ecosystem group. So we all come to the table. And when everybody comes to the table, I think sometimes what we saw is that people in different states, people had different knee-jerk reactions, right? We talk about career readiness. We talk about career awareness. We talk about different tools. And a lot of times people go, oh, we have something for that. And then when you jump into it and you look at the technologies and you look at the curriculum and you look at the skills and you look at it and go, you might have a Venn diagram where they overlap a little bit, but a majority is not. And so sometimes we've seen competition, in South Carolina, when we worked with Department of Education, there were a lot of great career tools that were there. They were exactly that though. They were career awareness tools. They were pathway tools, different than connection tools, right? Then we said, wait a minute, here's where they diverge. Here's where they come together. Here's how we can push this all together as a tidal wave. So I think the two biggest things that we see and we start to talk is having that conversation where we understand that we can work within the same ecosystem with a lot of different partners in a lot of different areas, like territorial, sometimes that happens, but bringing together. And secondly is that these students want to be reached out to early. They wanted to be connected. And so, my ask to everybody out there as we continue to work with these partners, if there's more work that we can do, if there's different things that we can innovate. We were asked last year to bring more connections into it, with over 94% of students saying they wanted to attend a college or a career fair in the next 12 months. We built technology to help support them and better match them. And so continue to share that with the stakeholders of what you need, especially as we know that education probably may never look exactly the same, and nor in the corporate as we go into this new world. But I don't know if that's a bad thing. I think it's room for a lot of opportunity.
Casey, that's great. Thanks very much. Kimberly, what is Chemours working on next?
So many things, Chris, as I'm sure you're familiar with, being a former Chemourite, but you're never a former, right? You're always part of Chemours company, right? So I have to echo what Lisa said. This is really great. I'm a Delaware inbred. I'm a University of Delaware graduate. I've worked most of my career in Delaware, but the connections that exist here really are what makes this small state a wonder. The types of things that are going on, the connections that are made, the networking, that's really what helps. And so for Chemours, that's what we've done, is that we've decided that we need to lean in. We need to do more when it comes to, ensuring that we meet that vibrant communities goal, ensuring that we are creating and helping to create a more diverse future workforce, ensuring that people understand when we say we want to be a more responsible chemistry company, what that means, and so what we've decided to do is to initiate a school adoption program, because research shows that we have a lot of initiatives that touch on high school students and college students, and that's great. But research is showing that we need to take it a step back, and we need to go to those middle school students, that grades 5 through 8, and help them to be able to find that untapped potential. Lisa and others have talked about social emotional learning, which is kind of, the education way of talking about really mental health and ensuring that people have a very strong self-identity and also building their resilience. And so at Chemours, we've decided that we're going to help towards that when it comes to STEM education. So this school adoption program, the Chemours employees are going to invest their time, talent, and energy, as well as the Chemours financial resources, to stand up school adoption programs in underrepresented areas in middle schools to be able to help students find that untapped potential, or for those who maybe have already recognized it, but their school district doesn't necessarily have the resources to help them to be able to enhance it as they move forward in their educational career. So, you asked earlier, make sure we have an ask. My ask really is, whether you are coming from the business, the industry side, or whether you're coming from the education side, collaborate. I'm a school board member. And I've learned what collaboration sometimes means in the educational system, and it's different than what it means in business. So let's merge our ideals and our definitions together, because that's how we are able to accomplish so much more. And that's what Chemours is trying to do with this school adoption program.
Kimberly, thank you. TJ, next steps.
So when you talk about next steps and also acts, those are two really great questions. When you talk about next steps, what's next for Delmarva in our Path to Success program, we're really trying to leverage the outreach education part of this. When I think about myself in particular, I'm also a Delawarean, born and bred from Wilmington, Delaware. So when I look back at myself at 16, 17, 18 years old in high school, there are very few things that I was sure of. One of the main things that I was sure of was that I did not want to go to college. Outside of that, I did not see a career path for myself. And when I look back and talk to a lot of high school students now, they really don't have an idea as to what a career in the trades industry look like. What does it mean to be a licensed HVAC installer or a plumber or an electrician? Really at that age, the only people who really know about those careers are people who has some type of exposure to it, whether your parents, uncle, family member, someone has exposed you to the trades, right? Outside of that, they really don't have an idea as to how to get into it, what kind of career you can have in it, and also the income. You know, those are really a skilled labor is a high paying job for someone that, you know, does not have college on their radar as a path, and that's fine. I think that so that the outreach part of getting that information out to students about the trades industry, what does it look like? How do you get into it? And more importantly, giving them a defined pathway to get into it is currently where we are. Now how that looks for us right now is that we're currently trying to create a curriculum to offer at the high school level to students, not just at our trade schools, at our traditional high schools as well, that we have the kind of curriculum that we can offer to students to give them the information of what a career in the utility industry looks like, with the different pathways that are available to you, and also how do you start to develop and get the skill set so that upon graduation you are employable to if not at Delmarva Power, then another utility company in the industry or in the state. So that's really what the next steps with us is making those connections at the high school level, getting that curriculum in there and having it being offered to students. Now, when you talk about the ask is twofold. It's one, increasing our partnerships with high schools. We do have strong partnerships with a lot of the schools in Newcastle County. But again, when you start talking about venturing out to Kent and Sussex County, those relationships need to be created and developed. And a larger ask is that partnering with other industry partners who see the value in diversity and inclusion. And most importantly, the equity part, making sure that your workforce looks like the areas that you serve, hires from the areas that you serve, so that the areas that you serve feel invested in your company itself. So, that's a big part, getting other industry partners that have shared that same vision and that are willing to partner with us to help employ these students once they get through high school and once they get through programs like the Path to Success program, so that you're really making an economic impact in our underserved communities. A community, a state, a country, we all are better off when the lowest among us are brought up. And that's really, what we're striving to do right now. We're trying to make a solid economic impact with very high paying, very skilled labor jobs for the people who need them the most. So I invite anyone who is an industry partner and would like to be a part of that to please reach out to myself or anyone at Deska. That is what we're looking for right now. Other partners that share this vision and are willing to partner with us with this going forward.
Great, TJ. Thanks so much. And Bryan, Tracy, we're already doing a lot, but what are you looking forward to doing, and what do you have for an ask for our audience members?
Yeah, great. So next steps, or to do next, is we need to build off of these models that we've integrated into these nonprofit organizations, oftentimes like FAME and DESCA, who are conduits. They're connecting organizations of small companies to the talent at all the different levels. Having only lived in small companies my entire life and starting these, there is not that many resources nor as much time as you would hope in order to be able to dedicate towards this. So we want to lower the barrier for small companies, which, by the way, small companies are the bulk of our economy. We want to lower the barrier for small companies to be able to connect with all the different scales and levels and focuses of talent as we go forward. There's not as many resources as one would hope. So we need to lower that barrier for them to be able to come in and efficiently use it. So then on the ask, you would have two asks on both sides. I'll pick on the small companies first. Pay your interns. Like, pay people to come in and work in your company. They deserve $12 an hour, and you will get it back in spades. Don't sit there and think that you're doing the world a massive service or that this is unusual. Like, this is fair for everybody. So pay your interns. And then if small companies, which they are such a major contributor to economic development, but also we don't necessarily have the resources of Chemours to support so many scholarships or any scholarships and all of these sorts of things. we need somebody else to help fund the development and the scale out of these types of programs that allow us to connect with our talent. So I'll pick on the state and the county. The state and the county need to be financially supportive in every way they possibly can to these nonprofit organizations and to education entities that are doing these types of programs. FAME and Tallo have done a phenomenal job of really priming this and developing a system. But we need the financial support from the bigger entities, the state, the county, the region, and so forth, who benefit from the economic growth. And we need the small companies to pay their fair share as well to the talent that's going to be coming into their companies longer term down the road.
Bryan, thanks so much. So, look, we've taken up a big chunk of our time, and I apologize to those people who have to leave at the bottom of the hour, but there's one more question that I would like to put in front of our panelists, and it's a great one received from Michael Dale in the audience. Here it goes. The pandemic has been mostly framed as interrupting and delaying education. What silver lining do you see, and is this disruption an opportunity to innovate? I can't help myself but give one answer to this, which is, look, by learning how to communicate and build relationships remotely, this puts you in a great position in terms of some of the skills used to work in a distributed business that may have people overseas, or learning to work and connect by video is a skill that many of us are developing. It also allows us, as we've seen, to be more flexible and to be ourselves and to exist with our families around us, which I think is great as well. But first, Lisa, I'd like to put that in front of you. What's the silver lining of the pandemic from the point of view of an educator?
Well, I think Casey put it very well. You know, it really presents a lot of opportunities. And I think there are many opportunities for us to be very intentional with our planning, with our advisement, with our mentoring, to make these connections between the in-school and out-of-school experiences, but also to partner very specifically with our nonprofits and with our community-based organizations. And, and a great example is the work that, that FAME is doing and that Desk is doing, and that you all were doing to reach out, to students too. So I think it gives us more opportunity, not only through connections, and we've learned a lot about what we can and can't do. But I think it's also, if we don't learn from this experience, it's shame on us, because we have an opportunity to truly reach every student and meet them where they are, and to look at their goals and base decisions based on their goals and meet where they are and put them on, on equal playing fields. So I'm looking forward to the opportunities and, and for us to continue this innovation thought process together.
That's great. Thanks so much. Well, everyone, we're approaching the bottom of the hour. So one, thank you very much for attending. To my panelists, thank you very much for all your insights and all the great work that you're doing in this space. And on behalf of FAME, we're really excited, FAME and DESCA, we're really excited to be helping in this area. The ask is for all of us to lean in and make a difference here. As someone who's lived and worked overseas for a great part of my career, Americans and American businesses have always had an advantage in the world by being innovative. And that is, in my mind, a direct result of the fact that we're a more diverse country than most of the others we compete with in the great world. But we've got a long way to go, as we've discussed and as we're all aware of. And this is a time, whether it's the pandemic or otherwise, to catalyze change and to lean into this process. So you've got great contact information up here on our chat line to get involved. Please lean in, help out, make a difference here. And for all you students, there's a great opportunity ahead of you and great resources that weren't available just a short time ago. So please reach out and make a difference. It'll affect your whole life. And with that, thanks everybody. And Erica, we can close this portion of the conference. Thank you.